A few days ago, I was told the story of Mr. Manuel, a 78-year-old man who led a quiet life at home. On an ordinary morning when the alarm went off, he did what he had done all his life. He shot up from bed, planted his feet on the floor, and tried to stand quickly. But this time was different. After only a few steps, he felt everything around him spin, as if the room were moving out of control. In a matter of seconds, he lost strength in his legs and fell to the floor. What seemed like a simple dizzy spell left him lying there in the bedroom, heart racing and mind confused. What happened to Mr. Manuel has a name, and although it sounds complex, it's more common than we think. It's called orthostatic hypotension. Put simply, it's a sudden drop in blood pressure that appears when we stand up quickly after lying down or sitting. The body doesn't react fast enough to send blood to the brain, and that causes dizziness, blurred vision, and even fainting. Many confuse it with a rough wake-up or with the typical aches of age, but the truth is that it can be a serious sign that something isn't right, and there's something even more concerning. These episodes not only pose an immediate danger of falls, blows, or fractures, they can also have a long-term impact on our brain health. Recent studies have shown that when blood pressure drops frequently, the momentary lack of oxygen gradually affects memory, concentration, and other mental functions. What begins as an innocent dizzy spell can, over time, steal your clarity and lucidity. In this video, I want to talk to you about all of this calmly and in detail. I'm going to tell you why this drop in pressure occurs, what the most common symptoms are, what risks it entails, how it can affect memory, and, most importantly, what simple steps you can take starting today to protect yourself. Because the way you get out of bed each morning can make the difference between a day full of energy and a day that begins with an accident. But before diving fully into these truths that are often hidden or minimized, I'd like to get to know you a little better. Leave me a comment with how many years old you are and from which place in the world you are listening to us. That way, we can build together a community that learns, takes care of itself, and shares life experience. What is the drop in blood pressure? When standing up? Some people simply call it a passing dizzy spell, that sensation that the ground moves beneath your feet, that your head slips away, or that everything goes dark for a few seconds when you stand up. But in reality, it's not just a rough wake-up. Behind it is a very specific phenomenon with a medical name, orthostatic hypotension. Explained simply, our body is designed to keep blood flowing to all organs, even when we change posture. When we are lying down, blood is distributed evenly. But when we stand up, gravity pulls it toward the legs and abdomen. To decompensate, the heart beats a little faster and the blood vessels constrict, pushing blood upward so the brain doesn't run out of oxygen. All this happens in seconds, automatically. In a healthy young person, this mechanism works almost without notice. But with age, or with certain health conditions, this adjustment isn't as effective. The result is that upon standing, blood pressure drops suddenly and blood flow to the brain is reduced. That's when symptoms appear: dizziness, blurred vision, weakness in the legs, a sensation of fainting. And if the body doesn't react in time, the person can lose consciousness and fall. It's important to understand the difference between a one-off episode and a recurring condition. We can all feel a bit dizzy at some point, especially if we get up too quickly after being lying down for a long time. That occasional dizziness may not matter much. However, when episodes repeat frequently, we're talking about something more serious. At that point, it's no longer a simple lapse, but a problem that can put the health and safety of the person at risk. Let's think about the case of Mrs. Carmen, 74 years old. She used to laugh at her morning dizzy spells and said they were just part of getting older. Every morning upon standing, she needed to lean on the wall for a few seconds. She thought it was normal, that her body was sluggish because she wasn't 20 years old anymore. What she didn't know was that those episodes were signs of orthostatic hypotension. One day, when she stood up too quickly, she fainted in the hallway and hit her hip on the floor. That accident forced her into months of rehabilitation, all because of something that seemed harmless. The lesson here is clear: we must not confuse the normalcy of aging with symptoms that can be dangerous. Frequent dizziness upon standing is not just old age aches, It's a warning that the body needs attention. Understanding what this drop in pressure is and why it occurs is the first step to protecting yourself. In the next sections, we'll see what causes it, how to recognize it, and what to do to keep something as simple as standing up from ending in an accident or even more serious consequences. Why it happens more. In older adults, as we age, our body goes through changes we often don't notice right away, but that have a huge impact on daily life. One of those changes happens in the circulatory system. Blood vessels, which in youth are elastic and contract easily to push blood upward, become stiffer over the years. That stiffness makes the body's response slower when we go from lying down to standing. The heart tries to compensate, but the vessels no longer react as effectively, and pressure drops suddenly. On top of that is another very common factor in later life: medications. Many older adults take pills to control blood pressure, diuretics to prevent fluid retention, or treatments for heart problems. Although they're necessary, some of these drugs favor orthostatic hypotension. In other words, they solve one problem but open the door to these drops in pressure that cause dizziness and falls. That's why it's so important for the doctor to know each patient's routine well and adjust doses when needed. Dehydration also plays a key role. With age, the sensation of thirst diminishes. Many older people simply forget to drink water or believe they don't need it because they don't feel as thirsty as before. But the body still needs fluids to maintain an adequate blood volume. When water is lacking, blood pressure falls more easily, and the risk of dizziness upon standing multiplies. And we can't ignore morning habits. Many older people are used to getting out of bed quickly, almost in a single jump, as they did in their youth. But the body no longer responds the same way. The heart and blood vessels need a few seconds to adapt. In addition, if fluids were lost during the night through sweating or urination, the body wakes up in a more vulnerable state. Standing abruptly under those conditions is like starting a cold engine and demanding maximum power from the first second. It's likely to fail. Consider the case of Mr. Richard, a 75-year-old man who began having falls without understanding why. Every morning he got up in a hurry because he didn't want to feel old. He said the bed trapped him, and that if he didn't stand up immediately, he lost the day. At first, he felt only small, dizzy spells, but soon came the bumps into walls and stumbles in the hallway. One morning, on the way to the bathroom, he fainted and ended up with a fractured wrist. That's when the doctor explained it wasn't a lack of willpower or mental weakness, but a blood pressure problem that needed attention. Mr. Richard's experience reminds us of something essential. Dizziness upon standing isn't an unimportant part of getting older. It's a direct consequence of how our body changes with age, of the medications we take, and of habits that no longer fit our reality. Accepting this doesn't mean giving up, it means understanding it in order to prevent it. In the next section, we'll see how to recognize the first symptoms and distinguish them from a simple passing discomfort. That difference can prevent a serious accident and give us more years of life with safety and dignity. The early symptoms. You must not ignore. When the body sends signals, it does so hoping we'll pay attention. The problem is that we often mistake them for passing annoyances or simple fatigue. In orthostatic hypotension, the early symptoms are usually clear, but the habit of downplaying them makes them recur again and again until they become a serious risk. The most frequent sign is the sudden dizziness when standing up. It isn't a dizziness that lasts several minutes, but a brief yet intense sensation that everything is spinning, as if the floor were moving beneath your feet. Along with it, blurred vision may appear, or the impression that everything goes dark for a few seconds, as if a shadow fell over the eyes. Sometimes there's also weakness in the legs, as if they couldn't support the body's weight, and a momentary confusion that keeps you from thinking clearly. Why does this happen? The explanation lies in the brain. When blood pressure drops abruptly, blood doesn't reach it in sufficient quantity for a few seconds. That lack of oxygen makes neurons work at half capacity and normal functions become altered. The brain, even if only for an instant, is placed in a kind of forced pause, and although the episode lasts only a few seconds, its consequences can be dangerous, from an accidental fall to a blow to the head. A very clear example is that of Mrs. Teresa, a 72-year-old woman who had always been active and in charge of her household. She noticed that when she got up in the morning, she felt dizzy, but she blamed it on accumulated fatigue or sleeping badly. For months, she convinced herself that nothing serious was happening. One day, while heading to the kitchen after getting up, she became so disoriented that she fell face first to the floor. The blow took her to the hospital, and that's when doctors explained it wasn't simple tiredness. She'd been experiencing drops in blood pressure upon standing for a long time. If she had paid attention to the first symptoms, that accident might have been avoided. The early warning signs are clear, and recognizing them can make all the difference. If, upon getting out of bed, you frequently feel dizzy, have blurred vision, weakness in the legs, or confusion, don't ignore it. If those episodes appear more than once per week, if they last several seconds, or if they ever end in a faint, it's necessary to tell your doctor. It isn't normal for the body to react that way repeatedly, especially in people who already have other risk factors. The lesson is simple but powerful. Not every dizzy spell is fatigue or old age. The body speaks, and every signal it sends deserves attention. Detecting the first symptoms of a drop in blood pressure can save us from a fall, from a serious blow, and, in the long run, even from a decline in memory. In the next section, we'll talk about the immediate consequences of these episodes, especially the risk of falls, which in later life can change everything in a matter of seconds. Immediate consequences. Risk of falls. When we talk about orthostatic hypotension, we're not just referring to an annoying dizzy spell. The real danger lies in what happens next. Falls. According to international health organizations, approximately 1 in 3 adults over 65 years old suffers at least one fall per year. And in many cases, those falls have serious consequences. They aren't simple stumbles. They can cause fractures, head injuries, and, most painfully, a loss of independence that changes life forever. The mechanism is clear. When you stand up suddenly, pressure drops, blood doesn't reach the brain in the necessary amount, and the body loses balance. That moment of instability, which lasts only seconds, is enough for someone to trip, hit a piece of furniture, or end up on the floor without time to react. What seemed like a brief episode becomes an accident with lasting consequences. Hip fractures are one of the most alarming examples. A fall in the bathroom, bedroom, or even the living room can cause the bone to break. And a hip fracture in later life is no small matter. It entails surgery, long recovery periods, and in many cases, a permanent reduction in mobility. Many people who once walked independently end up depending on a cane, a walker, or even a wheelchair. And along with the physical loss comes the emotional one. Feeling dependent, losing self-confidence, and giving up everyday activities for fear of falling again. Imagine the case of Mrs. Mercedes, a 78-year-old woman who got up one night to go to the bathroom. She didn't turn on the light because she didn't want to bother her husband, and when she stood up abruptly, she felt that sudden dizziness she had ignored so many times. This time, however, she couldn't steady herself. She collapsed onto the bathroom floor and suffered a hip fracture. Her recovery was long and painful, and although she walked again, she never did so with the same confidence. From that day on, she needed daily help for tasks she used to do alone. What began as a simple dizzy spell ended up taking away much of her independence. The hardest part of these stories is that everything unfolds in seconds. A gesture, as routine and seemingly harmless as getting out of bed, can completely change an older person's life trajectory. It's not just about physical pain, but also emotional and family consequences. A fall can force a home reorganization, change routines, create dependence on a caregiver, or even lead to considering a move to a care facility. That's why it's essential to understand that these episodes aren't an unimportant detail. Each time the body warns with dizziness, it's showing a real risk of an accident. Paying attention to those signals and adopting precautionary measures can prevent a fall that ends in tragedy. In the next section, we'll see how repeated drops in blood pressure not only affect us physically, but can also gradually damage memory and mental clarity, something that often goes unnoticed until it's already too late. Long-term consequences. Impact on memory. When we think about dizziness upon standing, the first thing that comes to mind is the immediate risk of a fall. But there's another, quieter and much deeper aspect that deserves attention: the impact on the brain, particularly on memory. Various medical studies have shown that repeated drops in blood pressure can have a cumulative effect on cognitive function. Each time pressure falls and blood flow to the brain diminishes, even for a few seconds, neurons are deprived of the oxygen and nutrients they need to function. If this happens occasionally, the body can recover without major problems. But when episodes are frequent, that little power outage repeats so many times that it starts to leave a mark. The brain is an especially sensitive organ. Unlike other tissues, it has no oxygen reserves to compensate. Just a few seconds of reduced blood flow is enough to disrupt processes like immediate memory, concentration, or mental clarity. It's as if the lights in a house were turning off and on constantly. Each outage puts appliances on pause and over time wears them down. Mr. Alfred's case, an 80-year-old man, is a clear example. For months he suffered dizziness upon standing, but he minimized them because he recovered quickly. Little by little he began to notice that he forgot where he left his keys, what he had for breakfast, or what his children had told him the afternoon before. He thought it was just normal aging until a doctor explained that his frequent drops in blood pressure were affecting his cognitive performance. It wasn't a simple lapse. His brain had long been enduring small interruptions in oxygen. This doesn't mean that everyone who feels dizzy will develop severe memory problems, but it does mean there's an important link. Science has shown that people who suffer repeated orthostatic hypotension have a higher risk of cognitive decline and dementia in the future. Put simply, what starts as a physical annoyance can end up compromising mental independence. That's why it's vital not to ignore frequent episodes. Addressing them in time not only prevents falls, it also protects the mind, memory, and the ability to enjoy life with clarity. In the next section, we'll look at the habits we should avoid when getting up, because sometimes the way we start the day can make the difference between living safely and risking serious consequences. What not to do when getting up. If there's something experience teaches us, it's that not all habits are healthy, and this also applies to how we start the day. Many mistakes older adults make when getting up seem insignificant, but in reality, they greatly increase the risk of a drop in blood pressure and an accident. The most common mistake is shooting up suddenly. After several hours lying down, the body needs time to readjust pressure and send enough blood to the brain. Leaping to your feet, as if trying to prove you're still 20 years old, puts the body in a stressful situation it can't handle. The result is usually immediate dizziness and, in some cases, a fall. Another frequent mistake is failing to hydrate. Overnight, the body loses fluids through breathing and urination. Upon waking, many people are already slightly dehydrated, even if they don't notice it. If they stand up without having a little water, blood pressure is even more likely to plunge. It's also dangerous to get up in complete darkness. Many falls happen because the person can't see where they're walking. Turning on a soft light or keeping a lamp within reach can make the difference between walking safely and tripping in the middle of a dizzy spell. Remember the case of Mr. Julian, 77 years old. He always said he hated alarms, so when his went off, he got up immediately to turn it off, almost in a fury. One morning, that impulse made him stand too quickly. He felt the room spin, and before he knew it, he was on the floor. Luckily, he didn't fracture anything, but he was left with a bruise that forced him to rest for days. When he told his doctor, he got a lesson he never forgot. Getting up fast isn't bravery, it's risking a fall. These mistakes aren't inevitable, and avoiding them can save lives. Recognizing that the body needs more care doesn't mean giving up. It means protecting yourself. In the next section, we'll talk about which habits are advisable to get up safely, regain balance, and start the day calmly. Safe habits. To start the day. Knowing what not to do when getting up is important, but even more valuable is learning what to do to begin each morning with safety and confidence. With small changes in routine, you can greatly reduce episodes of drops in blood pressure, and most importantly, prevent accidents. The first tip is to move slowly. After hours lying down, the body needs time to activate circulation. It isn't advisable to go straight from lying down to standing. The ideal is to take intermediate steps. First, move the legs, then sit on the edge of the bed, and finally, stand up calmly. That extra time allows the heart and blood vessels to adjust pressure before facing gravity. A very useful habit is to do a small exercise in bed. Before getting up, you can stretch your arms upward, rotate your ankles in circles, or flex and extend your knees several times. These simple movements activate circulation, wake up the muscles, and prepare the body to stand. It's like starting a motor little by little before putting it into gear. Hydration is also key. Keeping a glass of water on the nightstand and drinking it before getting up can make a difference. Water helps increase blood volume and stabilize pressure. A well-hydrated body responds better to posture changes and reduces the risk of dizziness. Checking blood pressure regularly is another essential habit. There are simple devices to do it at home, and keeping a record makes it possible to identify patterns or worrisome changes. Sharing that data with your doctor makes it easier to adjust medications and prevent severe episodes. An inspiring example is that of Mrs. Isabel, 76 years old. For months, she lived in fear of getting up because the dizzy spells were becoming more frequent. After a conversation with her doctor, she decided to change her routine. She began stretching her legs in bed, sitting for a few seconds before standing, and drinking water each morning before moving. After a few weeks, she noticed a big difference. Not only did the dizziness decrease, she also regained the confidence she had lost. Today, she gets up without fear again, showing that daily discipline can restore confidence and well-being. Adopting these habits doesn't require great effort, just the willingness to care for the body with patience. Starting the day slowly, mindfully, and hydrated is an investment in health that brings immediate benefits and long-term ones as well. The role of diet and hydration. Beyond physical habits, when getting up, diet and hydration play a decisive role in managing blood pressure. What we eat and drink largely determines how our body responds to posture changes and how it faces each day's challenges. Water is essential. Drinking a glass before getting out of bed helps compensate for the overnight fluid loss and gives an immediate boost to the circulatory system. Throughout the day, it's advisable to maintain good fluid intake, not only water, but also mild infusions or natural broths. The body needs that foundation to keep pressure stable and reduce dizzy spells. As for food, certain foods favor pressure balance. Potassium-rich fruits like bananas or oranges help regulate body fluids. Fresh vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins help maintain energy without overloading the body. Moderate salt intake in people without medical restrictions can also help keep pressure at adequate levels. On the other hand, it's wise to avoid excess coffee and alcohol. Large amounts of caffeine can cause sharp rises and falls in pressure, while alcohol dehydrates and weakens the body's response. The same goes for very salty or ultra-processed foods. They create imbalances that directly affect the circulatory system. A healthy morning menu for adults over 60 could include a glass of water upon waking, followed by a light breakfast with fresh fruit, a whole grain toast with avocado or low-fat cheese, and a mild infusion instead of strong coffee. That combination provides hydration, vitamins, and steady energy to start the day without jolts. Mr. Ernest's story, 81 years old, illustrates this well. For years, he had only strong coffee and cookies for breakfast, and he suffered constant dizzy spells. After visiting a nutritionist, he changed his routine. He started drinking water upon waking, adding fruit and protein to breakfast, and cutting back on coffee. In a few weeks, he noticed fewer dizzy spells and more energy. It wasn't a radical change, but it was enough to improve his quality of life. The conclusion is clear. What we put into our body directly influences how we live each morning. Good hydration and a balanced diet not only reduce drops in blood pressure, they also strengthen overall health and help maintain independence and vitality. When it's a sign of something more serious, although dizziness upon standing can be due simply to an occasional drop in pressure, there are situations in which it becomes a warning sign that should not be ignored. When episodes are frequent or accompanied by other symptoms, the body may be signaling a deeper problem. One sign requiring immediate medical attention is repeated fainting. We're not talking about losing balance for a second, but falls in which the person loses consciousness, even briefly. Another worrisome symptom is prolonged confusion after the episode, difficulty recognizing the place, trouble speaking clearly, or disorientation lasting several minutes. These are not simple dizzy spells. They are indicators that the brain isn't receiving the oxygen it needs. Several diseases are related to orthostatic hypotension. Some are heart-related, such as heart failure or arrhythmias, which prevent blood from being pumped with the necessary force. Others are neurological, like Parkinson's disease or certain neuropathies, which affect the nervous system's ability to regulate blood pressure. Even poorly controlled diabetes can damage the nerves in charge of maintaining pressure balance. An example is Mr. Michael, 79 years old. For months, he believed his dizzy spells were a normal sign of aging. But one day, after an especially strong episode, his son insisted on taking him to the hospital. There, they discovered that, in addition to orthostatic hypotension, he had an arrhythmia that had never been diagnosed. Thanks to that visit, he received proper treatment and prevented major complications. The lesson is clear. When dizziness repeats, lasts more than a few seconds, or comes with fainting and confusion, it's time to consult a doctor. It isn't about being alarmist. It's about understanding that sometimes these episodes are the first sign of conditions that require immediate treatment. Ignoring them gives an advantage to a problem that could be controlled in time. How to support a family member who has it living with orthostatic hypotension affects not only the person who suffers from it, it also involves family and caregivers. Close support can make the difference between living in fear of dizzy spells and facing them with safety and confidence. The first thing children and relatives must understand is that these episodes aren't unimportant facts of aging. Minimizing symptoms or laughing them off only creates more anxiety in the person who suffers them. The right attitude is to listen, take each account seriously, and provide support in seeking medical and practical solutions. There are simple strategies that can be implemented at home. Accompanying the older adult in the morning, especially when getting up, provides security and reduces the risk of falls. Adapting the environment is also essential. Installing grab bars in the bathroom, using non-slip rugs, and keeping soft lights on in hallways and bedrooms at night. These small changes at home can prevent serious accidents. Anna's story with her mother reflects this well. Her mother, 82 years old, had constant dizzy spells, but resisted accepting help. Anna decided to accompany her every morning for a while, reminding her to get up slowly, offering her a glass of water, and making sure the lights were on. Little by little, her mother regained confidence and learned to follow those routines on her own. Today, although she still takes care, she no longer lives with constant fear of falling. Support is not only physical, it's emotional. Patience and understanding are essential. Someone who suffers these episodes may feel frustrated, weak, or embarrassed. Reminding them that they are not alone, that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, but of wisdom, strengthens their self-esteem and allows them to face the situation with serenity. Throughout this video, we've discovered that dizziness upon standing is not a simple passing annoyance. We've seen what orthostatic hypotension is, why it occurs more often in older adults, which early symptoms must not be ignored, and the immediate consequences, such as falls, that can change a life in a matter of seconds. We also talked about long-term effects on memory, the most common mistakes when getting up, and the safe habits that help prevent episodes. We recalled the importance of hydration and diet, noted when it's necessary to see a doctor because something more serious may be behind it, and shared strategies so children and family members can offer support. Each part has shown us that the way we get up each morning is not an unimportant detail. It may be the key to protecting our life and our memory. The final message is simple but powerful. With the right habits, patience, and attention to the body's signals, it's possible to live with independence, safety, and fullness, even in later life. Health doesn't always depend on big changes. Sometimes it lies in the small gestures of each day. Now I want to invite you to participate. Have you ever felt dizzy when standing up? How many years old are you, and from which country are you watching us? Leave your answer in the comments, because sharing our experiences helps us learn together and take better care of ourselves. And if you know someone who could benefit from this information, share this video with them. You might help them prevent an accident and live more safely.